time you weren't around. We saw a lot of intriguing magic up at Brown's, and I learned something that I really was quite impressed with. So what I'd like to show you is some little oddity of a piece called hypnotizing a rope. Now, it takes a little time and a little effort to get the rope to be hypnotized exactly right. And what happens now is it absolutely stands up on end, and it like I said, I only had a weekend of practice. I'll tell you what, I'm going to go in the back and practice. Vin Boy, would you like to come up and give us a hand?
I'm going to borrow a chair. I'm very happy that you conned Bill Greeno into coming tonight. And as I was told last month, the honors to Bill Greeno are long overdue. And I am one of the old timers here who probably is as qualified as anyone to speak a little bit about Bill Greeno. Now, I hope you'll bear with me. This may take 5 or 10 minutes, but it's worth it. And I only regret that we don't have more of the members here to know about Bill Greeno. Now, I was the National Secretary for 17 years, so I worked for 16 national presidents, which I will explain in a moment. And in the early 40s, or the mid-40s, 1940s, Bill Greeno came on the scene, and I think I was instrumental in getting his membership approved here in our assembly. And from that time on, the SAM really was benefited greatly by having a guy with Bill's dynamic fortitude, capability, and willingness to work. Not that I'm not inferring in any way that none of our officers work, but on the national scene, believe me, sometimes it's unusual to find real hard-working national officers. They usually accept the office for the honors that they get and do very little on the national front. Not all of them. Some of them. I could name some, and you'd be surprised at some of the lax ones that I've had to work with as National Secretary, but we're not here to talk about them. We're here to talk about Bill Greeno. From the time he joined the Assembly, his indefatigable energy was noticeable. He did everything to keep our Assembly together in its harder days. I'm glad that we've survived these 40 years, or 50 years. It was 1929 when we were first chartered as an assembly, so that's quite a long time ago. And Bill was one of these strange guys that could really move things. He was a hard-working president. After working up the offices that Chip is now starting as regional vice president, national deputy, national secretary, not secretary, national vice president, and finally he was given the office of national president. And believe me, the SAM benefited greatly through the efforts of our honored guest tonight. Now, I could go on and talk forever about the things he did, but I'd like to just point out two things, two examples of the kind of hard work that he did. Early in his presidency, we had a membership problem, and he was appointed as chairman of a national membership company, or a national committee on membership. And being in a position that he was, and with his company, for instance, Bill designed this kit that was sent out to all those interested in magic and becoming members of the SAM. I don't know if this is being used today or not, really. Maybe Chip could tell me, or Joyce could tell me, but I know that Bill went to tremendous effort and expense, personal expense, to create this kit to promote membership. And it was nicely done. Actually, anything that the Taylor Greeno Company in those days would do was par excellence. And the printing job was beautiful, and we had this prepared, and we used to send everyone a copy of the magazine, MUM, a free copy that went along with the brochure telling about the society, and a membership card was given, or a sample of the membership card was attached, and this, believe me, helped promote the membership of the SAM. You know, one thing that you people may not know, but during this same period, and this is no reflection or no detraction from Bill's skill and his work, but the associate membership program was also started about this time. And another one of our distinguished members, Bassett Mordecai, was the national chairman who created the associate membership plan that we now enjoy. As you heard earlier, we have about 1,900 associate members in the society. Of course, many of them are delinquent and so are regular members. But the fact is that when I was national secretary, we were lucky to have 1,700 members. Now, we're in the 5,000 range of membership, so the SAM has grown tremendously. This was a project that Bill took on himself, and believe me, I'll never forget it because it was great, and it was appreciated by the society itself, and I'm sure it had its just rewards. Now, another thing that you might want to know is that this magazine, now this one I purposely pulled out of my file. This is 1953 with Bill Greeno's picture on it, the year he was elected national president. Now, one thing that's not known is that Bill Greeno is only 2 presidents of our entire history who served more than 1 year as national president. In fact, he was working so hard and he had so much to do that he couldn't do it all in 1 year. And I think he and Howard Thurston were the only presidents that served 2 consecutive terms as national president of the Society of American Magicians. Houdini. All right, Houdini, yeah. And Bill Greeno. So after 53, he also accepted the presidency for a 2nd year to finish up what he had started. Along about this time, of course, we didn't have a magazine earlier than this. This is volume 43, so two years prior to that, we never had a magazine in the SAM. We had a little 4-page insert in the Genii magazine and the Sphinx magazine every month, and this was all that we had. And many in the National Council knew that this was wrong for a society of our stature, our heritage, and our longevity should not have a magazine of its own. So I was appointed to make a feasibility study on producing our own magazine for the Society of American Magicians. And once again, it was with Bill Greeno's help that I produced, with his help, this sample copy. Now, I treasure this because this is 1949. And we, with Bill's help, he created the cover and got the cut for this. I did all the work of getting the inside stuff, the cuts from all the dealers, and compile a sample issue. As it says in the editorial, this is just a sample of what could be. And it was accepted, and we finally decided to publish our own magazine. In the interim, 6 months or so, it was decided, because of another feasibility study, that we should perhaps start with a format similar to this. So this was the format up to only a few years ago, 6 or 7 or 8 years ago, when we had this small format for the MUN magazine. And now, ironically, it's right back to the format that we started before we even had an SAM magazine of our own.
What was the first volume?
The first volume was volume 42. Prior to that, there was no magazine. See, we elected to start with volume 42 because we were having a bulletin, what they call a bulletin, but it was just an insert in the Sphinx magazine and the Genii magazine, the Genii Coningers for many years, until Bill and I and all the rest of us stepped in and we created our own magazine. Believe me, I'm so happy that it's turned out as it does. At least a society such as we have now has its own magazine and has had for 30 years now, and I wish it a long life and a successful life for another 30 years. But most of the credit goes to fellows like Bill Greeno and Bassett, and of course I helped a little. So those are some of the things that some of your newer members may not be familiar with. So when we say we're honoring Bill Greeno, it's not for naught that we're not doing this. I mean, he has contributed greatly, more in proportion to what we can ever give him for the work that he's done. And my congratulations to Bill for that. This incidentally was a nice issue. This was after the Cincinnati conference. It has a nice story about Bill. And I tell you, Bill Greeno, his magic is, I won't say it's legend, but I know it, and many of us know that Bill always did everything the best he could. He played golf excellently. He's a good musician, a very fine musician. He devoted his same, same energies towards his magic. Now, as far as I don't know what anyone's doing tonight as long as magic, but some of the tricks that I remember for Bill Greeno, one of them is written up in this issue. They make a comment on Bill Greeno's. This, incidentally, excuse me for rambling just a bit, but this is an SAM21 issue. See, I don't know how many of you have this. It was in 1953. We have tricks by Nelson Demers, Joe Morrissey, Fish Cheney, who have all passed away. I contributed something. Al Juster's in here, Jesse Webster, John Dambrosky. And so this was an assembly issue at that time. But Bill is famous for many tricks. He devoted the same energy and effort into perfecting his magic. Anyone who can remember seeing Bill perform years ago will always remember his treatment of the desert sand trick, in particular, the one where it's a stage trick used by done by famous magicians, where you have bowls of sand and you put them in the water and then you come out with dry sand. It's the sands of the desert, classic. Bill worked about 2 years perfecting a version of that. That was just beautiful, and he won national prizes with his presentation for that sand trick. I can't tell you how many hours of study, research, and effort went into creating every move, every effect, so that it was a self-contained small illusion that you could do anywhere on a stage or on the platform. And of course, I can remember one trip we made to the Santa Barbara Convention. And, Bill Greeno was the first one who introduced the Divano deck to the West Coast people. Believe me, before we left, the Divano deck came out, and he created a sensation with that in Santa Barbara, showing it off to everyone there. And it was new to them because we were always ahead of them. Most of the magic at that time was created in the East, and then it went out West. So anything we did was enjoyed, and it beat the West Coast, believe me. And Bill excelled in small little tricks. He did the paper trick, the tissue paper trick, which is written up in the MUM. Then his bamboo wands with the thistles and the tassels and the fez. And, I was going to even, when Bill asked me to do something, you know, some magic pertaining to Bill and his history, I was even going to, I didn't have the time, I'll tell you honest, and I apologize, but I was going to see if I could get some of these things and ask either Bill to do them or we would find someone who would perform them in Bill's stead, because they are old classics associated with Bill Greeno. He was a great president and he was a good friend and a good magician. His energies did not, you know, stop with the society. Now, I don't know how many of you know this. Bill was also a yachtsman. And I remember being on his boat a couple times, and I don't know whether he attained the rank of Commodore, but here it's Captain Bill Greeno. And in his spare time, he created this, which was nautical magic, a promotional stunt produced by the Taylor Greeno Company. And from this little thing, I thought maybe I'd just try to show you one or two things as my contribution to tonight's magic.
Greeno's the guy that
In doing this,
remember.
he produced this little booklet, which he has probably a dozen little rope effects that are simple and easy to do. And really they are, you know, they're, I won't call them kid tricks, it's good magic. And believe me, if you study this and learn everything in here, you can put on a 15 minute or a half an hour show using the stuff in this little pamphlet. Now, I don't know how many he sold, whether he wanted to sell it or not. All I know is that I've got it and I'm glad.
You got the only one.
Got another one up front, the other at the back.
The only 5,000 of them. Got a whole attic home full.
How many did you print, Bill? Do you have a lot of them left?
No. You've got it.
He hasn't got one probably.
In the kid